Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Wednesday, October the 4th, 2023. We're beginning a new life key number 8, entitled Service. For Whom Will You Play? The reading this morning is from the Gospel of Mark, the 10th chapter. And so Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." For a number of weeks now, we've been focusing on our so-called life keys. In other words, the keys to unlocking a fulfilling and abundant life for us as Christian people. We've heard about such things as life gifts and spiritual gifts and personality types and values and passions and also life choices. Well, now, however, it's time to bring all these life keys together. And so today, beginning today, we'll discover the reason why God has shaped and gifted us the way that he has. Today, we'll consider the underlying purpose behind our life keys. And in order to do this, we first turn to this morning's gospel reading. Little background. In the verses immediately preceding our passage, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and two of Jesus' closest disciples, once came to Jesus and asked if they could sit at his right hand and at his left when he came into his glory. They obviously knew that they, along with Peter, comprised his inner circle and probably just wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to forget them down the road. Undoubtedly, they also believed that at some point Jesus was going to assert his power and leadership, perhaps through some sort of political or military takeover. And again, after following him faithfully through some difficult times, they weren't above asking whether there was something in it for them. Jesus, however, tells them point blank that they don't even understand what they're asking. "Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" he inquires. Which is to say, will you be able to suffer with me and accept God's way for your life as I have? When they assure him that they can, Jesus agrees with them, but then he quickly adds that the decision of who will sit at his right and at his left is not his to make. Although Mark only implies it, Matthew's version of the story goes even further to say that this decision rests with God alone. Now, Mark doesn't tell us how James and John reacted to Jesus' response to their request. My guess is that they were very disappointed. But we do know how the other disciples reacted. Mark tells us that when the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. And it's at this point that our gospel reading this morning picks up the story. As we heard, Jesus called his disciples together, gave them in effect a crash course on leadership and greatness in his kingdom. "The rulers and great ones of this world may lord it over others," he said, "but it will not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to become great must be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first must be slave of all." And just in case they still didn't get it, he added for good measure, "For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The authors of Life Keys explained what Jesus meant by this with a modern-day example. They quote a church member who once remarked, "I can easily summarize what it means to be a leader in the church. When I was promoted to the senior management team of my firm, I got a parking space with my name on it right by the front door. When I became a church elder, I got to leave my car 4 blocks away in order to free up space in the church parking lot for our guests." Dwight L. Moody, the famous American evangelist of the 19th century, once said, "The measure of a man is not how many servants he has, but how many men he serves." Moody himself apparently lived by those words because in the late 1800s, a group of European pastors came to one of Moody's Northfield Bible conferences in Massachusetts. And following the European custom of that time, each guest put his shoes outside his room to be cleaned and polished by the hall servants overnight. But of course, this was America, and there were no hall servants. And walking the dormitory halls that evening, Moody saw the shoes and, aware of their custom, was determined not to embarrass his European guests. And when he mentioned the need to some ministerial students who were also attending the conference, he was met with only silence or pious excuses. And so Moody returned to the dorm, gathered up the shoes himself, and alone in his own room, the world's most famous evangelist of that day began to clean and polish the shoes. Only the unexpected late-night visit of a friend while Moody was still in the midst of his shoe-shining chores revealed the secret. When the foreign visitors opened their doors the next morning, their shoes were shined as expected, though they never knew by whom. And Moody never told anyone either, but his friend told a few people. And so during the rest of the conference, different men volunteered each evening to help shine the shoes in secret. Moody, therefore, was not only willing to be a servant himself, he also modeled servanthood in a way that inspired and motivated others. As the authors of Life Keys point out, however, servanthood is not a popular image in our society. As they write, the word evokes images of the disadvantaged, people at the beck and call of others, or those with little time for their own needs. Often this image of the woeful servant is layered onto Christian service, they say, and the result is that Christians sometimes find themselves saying or thinking something like, if I am to serve, I shouldn't be happy, nor should I care for my own needs, because that isn't holy. I'll be a slave to others, belittling myself in the process. That's my fate if I want to be saintly. But nothing could be further from the truth, the authors remind us. And so they go on to identify and explain 6 principles of biblical servanthood. And it's those 6 principles that we'll be talking about in the next couple of days. Until then, take care. Have a great day today. Bye.